until the heat went off to film this. However, I forgot to turn the heat on last night. So during the days, we've had beautiful weather and I have been opening the windows. But at night it's still getting cold, and I forgot to turn the heat on last night when I went to bed, and it was very cold this morning, like very cold in the house. So the heat has been running for a good bit to try and warm the house up. So we're just gonna have to deal with it because I would like to film this and get it posted. So we're here for the end of January reading, January wrap up. I read 14 books in January, and that includes several audiobooks and some shorter books. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with what I read. So I'm gonna brain fog is also strong today. I'm gonna link below my mid-month wrap-up that will give you some more in-depth reviews and thoughts on the first 7 books that I read. But so we're gonna start with my book club book, which was also a library book, which I since have returned, and that is The Many Daughters of Afang Moy by Jamie Ford. So I'm not giving half stars anymore, and I'm really frustrating myself by not giving half stars, because if I were giving half stars, this is a 2.5 for me. If I don't give a half star, I'm leaning more towards a 2, but feel bad and maybe it's a 3. I don't know. Should I feel bad? I don't know. I was the only one in book club who had a low rating for this book. I think, pretty sure. There were some 3 stars, and I don't even know what I want to say about this book. So it is, so I'm gonna tell you a little bit about what it is. It is historical fiction, I guess. Starts off with Afang Moy, who was a real person. She was called the Chinese lady, and was brought over by basically human trafficking, I feel like. She was brought over to the US to be an exhibit. Put her on display for her unusual ethnicity, because at that time Americans had not seen or known many Asian people, and so that was different. And she also had bound feet, which was a custom in China for women to do to make themselves more beautiful for marriage. And yeah, so she was put on stage by these people who didn't treat her very well, obviously. They just made money off of her. And the author fictionalizes her daughters, like her lineage. And in my mind, so he goes into, I think, 6 or 7 daughters. I lost track. Because I feel like he did too much, tried to do too much in this story. So the story of Afang Moy in itself could be a whole book, whole historical fiction book, if you wanted to fictionalize, because we don't know much about her. Afang Moy was alive during the 1800s, so there's not much documentation of her and what truly happened to her. I feel like he just tried to do too much. So he has Afang Moy, he has a daughter, one of her daughters or lineage is in the US during the flu epidemic in the early 1900s. We've got one in boarding school in England, kind of exploring her sexuality, which wasn't accepted at the time. We've got another that was in the war. We've got another that was in like our present day, doing web development, developing an app. Then we also go into the future with a daughter that is receiving treatment for mental health issues in the form of epigenetics. And then we see a very small glimpse of that woman's daughter, that daughter's daughter. Yeah. See, there's just a lot going on. I just felt like it was a lot. I also wasn't sure how comfortable I was with a man writing trauma experienced by women. I just don't know. Like, I feel like it's been done so much. And when I say that, I don't know that he... I don't know. I don't feel like there was anything obviously bad about it. I just feel like those are stories for women to tell, because for so long, our stories have been told by men. And so, yeah, that left kind of, even going into it, was just a little bit of unsettled feeling about it. Overall, I like the writing style. I've liked Jamie Ford's work before, and I'm not signing him off at all. But yeah, I just felt like it tried to do too much. So yeah, I think I pretty much am leaning on a 2 for that one, which is it was a disappointment, because like I said, I've liked Jamie Ford's work before, and I will read him in the future. Then I read Days at the Murasaki Bookshop by Satoshi Yagasawa, translated by Eric Ozawa. I did this in a reading vlog where I read library books. I will link that below. I gave this 4 stars. I really liked it. I thought it was a great story about books, bookshops, finding the love of books when you're going through difficult times. I didn't love the second half as much, because we are taken out of, we're kind of put into the story of the, I guess I should say what it's about first. So this is a story. It starts out with the main character, Takako, who, her boyfriend breaks up with her, and, well, doesn't break up with her, but says he's marrying someone else that they both work with. And so she leaves her job, leaves the boyfriend, leaves her apartment, and goes to live with her uncle, who runs the bookshop that's been in the family for generations. And Takako is the one who reestablishes her love for reading and the experience of being in a bookshop. At first, she kind of just doesn't care too much about it. She sleeps through the days and things like that, which is not unusual for someone who's just gone through a breakup and losing a job. But then we also find out, in the second half, we find out more about her uncle and his marriage. So her uncle, his wife left him 5 years ago, and he's always been in love with her. So she kind of explores that with him, and then we kind of go into that relationship. So it just seemed a little disconnected from the first part of the story, but overall, I really enjoyed it, and I will be looking at there's the More Days at the Morisaki Bookshop, which I think is the second one. And I know my library has it, so I am interested in reading that. So the next one I finished, I talked about a little bit about, because I was in the middle of it, and that is An Ordinary Time, Fragments of a Family History by Carmel McMahon. This is a favorite of Hannah Mae's, and I've been following Hannah for years. Hannah is a great person to follow if you like literary fiction, nonfiction, just coziness of Amsterdam life, and also very knowledgeable and shares a lot about her life with chronic illness. She and I both have the same condition, ME, and our reading styles are a little bit similar. Like, I think our literary fiction taste is very similar, and nonfiction. So this is one that she recommended, and I've had it on my shelf since she first reviewed it. And this is about Carmel's family. Carmel is an Irish woman who is one of many children. I forget the exact number. But she goes to New York searching for, I think she goes as a model, and then she's searching for different job opportunities, writing opportunities. It follows her kind of exploration through generational trauma and her relationships with her family. It follows through with some issues of addiction and her romantic relationships. There is grief, as well as she has a couple of siblings pass away, and then one sibling who experiences pretty significant mental health issues. And I really liked the narrative style. As you can see, I tabbed a lot of it, and I will definitely be going back to it. These are the type of books that I would love to be able to write myself. I do still enjoy writing. I used to write professionally for a company, and now I like to do just journaling and essay type things. And this is kind of right along the lines of what I would like to write. So I can see myself going back to this. Did I say I gave it 3 stars? I felt like, well, I don't know that you need a main theme in a memoir or family narrative. I feel like it was it jumped a lot. But as a woman with many siblings and a familial history that goes from Ireland, and then her own experiences in New York as an Irish woman, there's a lot there. Brief interruption for Mabel shenanigans. That's what we're gonna call it. I'm not sure she's done, but she might start barking again. All right, so let's see. The next one I read was another recommendation from Hannah. And this was Lazy City by Rachel Connolly. And this is another one that I read during my Reading Library Books vlog. So I'll post that below. This was about a woman named Erin who was in London studying, and a friend of hers passes away who worked with her in I think it's like a research lab that she worked in through her schooling. And after her friend passes away, she comes back to Ireland, where she's from, to grieve and just kind of take a break, take a breather, process what's going on. And she reconnects with her friends from school, and also meets, so she reconnects with an ex-boyfriend. She establishes a relationship with an American man who is there to teach a semester and write a book. So we watch her kind of going through these two different relationships. She's estranged from her mom, but they do talk a little bit. It's not a good relationship, so we look into that as well. There are snapshots of her relationship or her friendship with, I think her name is Kate, who passed away. There's also her connection to the church. That seems to be her respite, and so we see her going and just sitting in the church and lighting candles and kind of following through some of those Catholic rituals that bring her comfort. And as someone who grew up Catholic, I was with her when she, dipped her finger in the holy water, did the sign of the cross, those type of things. I ended up giving it a 3-star. I felt like my expectations were a little bit off from the synopsis. I thought it was going to be more looking into the death of her friend and focusing more on that grief. And I feel like there was a lot about the grief and her processing it through these different relationships and through a lot of drug use and alcohol use. But yeah, it just kind of fell short for me. So then I listened to on audio Rest is Resistance, a manifesto by Tricia Hershey. This was a pleasant surprise as far as how much I enjoyed it. I started it on the plane ride on my trip to the Alice Feeney event, and I just really, really enjoyed, first of all, Tricia Hershey's way of writing. She also read the audiobook. It really focuses on the lack of focus of rest on just people, but also more specifically and more disproportionately women, and then women of color, even more so, that we live in a society that focuses so much on production, keep going, keep buying, keeping up with the Joneses, all those type of things, that the idea of rest is pretty much hijacked. Like, it just isn't supposed to be something you do. And that really resonated with me as someone who has to rest a lot because of my chronic illness, that I feel like I'm not doing enough. I'm not being enough. It's easy to get lost in that. And that is totally what Tricia Hershey is talking about. Tricia Hershey is talking about it from the point of view of a woman of color, and that rest is disproportionately discouraged, stolen from women of color, and that has been an ongoing, always theft, if you will. I really, really liked this, and I really recommend the audiobook. I mentioned in my February TBR that she references a lot of great books, and I'm reading one of those in February. So I highly recommend that. I gave it 5 stars. If you couldn't tell from how much I'm gushing about it. So the other ones I read were palate cleansers, I read the 2 books about Irish women, one nonfiction, one fiction. There was a lot of heavy stuff in those books. So I ended the month with reading 2 non-adult books. So I read How to Be More Hedgehog by Anne Marie Conway. This met the prompt of Annuary in the Read Good Challenge run by Ben Reads Good, which it was to read a book by an author with Anne in her name, in their name. And this is a middle grade book about a young girl named Lily who has a stammer, depending on what country you're in. But it kind of talks about her having some issues with her friends and kind of the mental process she goes through when she has to read aloud or talk to people or give presentations. And she's just embarrassed by her stutter, and her friends don't help that. She also is going through the divorce of her parents and her dad's remarriage. She is handling it one way, and her older brother is handling it in another way, which directly affects her. And I just really enjoyed this. She also has a great love of nature and animals, which, you know, resonates with me 100%. I love the artwork on it. And yeah, I just really, really recommend this. I gave this 5 stars. And then I did read, I read The Smell of Wet Dog and Other Dog Poems and Drawings by Barney Salzberg. I don't know. I think I just saw this when I was on my library website looking for other things, and this looked cute. I needed cute in my life in January in the US. And this really, really hit the spot. Like, I love dogs. And a puppy pile. Yeah, they're just little poems about dogs. The great things about them, the messy things about them, the smelly things about them. And yeah, the artwork is really fun. And they did include a cat on the last page, so that's always good. But yeah, I gave this 5 stars. Definitely recommend it. If you love animals, you'll probably love that. So that's what I read in January. Like I said, 14 books, and I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think 5 stars. I think that's a pretty good way to start the year. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. If you would like to continue to hear my thoughts on books, please subscribe and let me know in the comments if you had any 5 stars in January. What were they? What did you like about them? And I will see you again very soon. Bye.